to a sane voice describing the impeachment news, because there's so much of it, it rolls so fast, and it's hard to keep up with what's going on. And the thing about fascism, or living under fascism, is that they tend to be great storytellers, and they govern at a level of meeting the emotional needs of a select segment of the population. A segment of the population that tends to already be primed with certain prejudices. So people who watch Fox News, people who read Breitbart websites, people who listen to right-wing talkback radio are already primed with a certain set of preconceptions, a certain framework of understanding. And everything that Trump said slots neatly into their current paradigm and fires all their neurons that say, yes, I'm validated by Trump. My worldview is validated by Trump. He understands that we shouldn't be taking care of prisoners. We should be bumping their heads as they get into police cars. No more of this assumption of innocence. Trump meets the emotional needs of people who lack respect for the rule of law, who lack respect for the complexity and compromises associated with a democracy, with a democratic republic. And it's hard, because under fascism, when people find their way into power by being a snake oil salesman who persuasively tells stories, who has some kind of a selling point. In Trump's case, it was that he'd had a reality TV show that force-fed America a fake reality of Trump being a successful businessman. Trump had made a career out of selling a fake reality to people, that he was a successful businessman. He relied on mom and pop investors who were like, yes, that guy, he's the American dream, giving him their money. Trump taking that money and falsely representing it to banks as profit. Like, look at how profitable my businesses are. I've got all this money in my bank account. And then using that to badger Trump's banks into giving him loans. So during the 80s and 90s, when his business ventures all collapsed financially, Trump still managed to make money from investors who hadn't heard about what a terrible business failure Trump was, because Trump blackmailed and bullied Wall Street investors and Wall Street journalists out of reporting how their best estimates of the fact that he didn't have any money, that he was in the red as opposed to being in the black, having actual legitimate funds in his account. So when he got some investment money in his account that you're legally not supposed to represent as profit, if it's just people trusting you and putting their trust in you making future profit, he falsely passed it off as profit, got loans, and has been splashing loan money around for a long time, claiming to be successful. And he doesn't pay back those loans, which is why no bank in America, after a while, would lend Trump money, except for Deutsche Bank, which is now being investigated for money laundering. Money laundering is not a process to wash your notes and get off germs for you. It's a process of concealing the proceeds of crime. So drug trafficking, sex trade trafficking, and getting your brown envelope money and giving it to a bank that will say, okay, we're not going to ask you any questions about how you got this or what type of legitimate business you have, because, okay, you're just giving us this brown paper bag money, we'll open an account for you and make this money all respectable looking. You'll have a nice business account with us. And or people just, not being as obvious as handing over money in an envelope, but the bank ignoring its own protocols and procedures for avoiding criminals taking advantage of their practices. So Justice Kennedy's son is one of the people who signed off on a $2 billion loan to Trump. And Justice Kennedy abruptly resigned after talking to Trump, making way for Trump to appoint a second Supreme Court justice, one whom was very grateful to Donald Trump for having elevated his candidacy for the Supreme Court despite multiple accusations of him being a rapist and an assaulter of women. So the kind of person who would put his naked penis in your face at a party in college, or as a 17-year-old, push a woman down on a bed, put his hand over their mouth for so long that they were in fear of their life, that they might suffocate as a result of his reckless disregard for her life and ability to breathe. That guy whose debts were all mysteriously paid off, who had a big mortgage and a membership at expensive golfing clubs, but whose income as a district or federal court judge didn't match all of those expenditures. But all of his debts went away. His credit card debt got paid off with no plausible explanation for that by Justice Kavanaugh, who now perches illegitimately on the Supreme Court bench, already twisting the law and putting together words in any way that has the vaguest skerrick of plausibility to let Trump get away with hurting migrants, diverting military funds to build the wall, taking money away from military projects that were supposed to support the families of American service people, build children's schools, children whose parents are serving in the military that so many Republicans pretend to revere. And I say pretend because they don't like it enough. They don't like service people enough to look hard at what Republicans do to people in the military, and that is sabotage social service programs that help veterans. Trump appointed some of his Mar-a-Lago buddies, people who pay $200,000 a year for membership at Mar-a-Lago, and Trump said, sure, you guys can be my shadow cabinet for Veterans Affairs, and they wrote suggestions down on napkins to give to Trump. This is how much disregard there is for veterans in America, that so many people have ignored what Trump has done to the Department of Veterans Affairs. Republicans, conservatives, the world over, have better skills at marketing than they have at competently delivering on their value system. They're the type of people who say, we value family values and we value morality. And the people who talk morality the loudest are often the people with the biggest things to hide, with the biggest patterns of deviant behavior away from morality. They talk the talk because they're so keen to con you. And look, Bill Clinton has a problem with sexual assault as well, and I can't shy away from that. So it's not as if the problem is limited to Republicans, and we have to deal with that. And it would be very sad for Hillary Clinton if more information came out that Clinton was involved with Epstein. But Epstein's trial isn't going ahead, and we don't know much about any potential future charges for his co-conspirators, of which I believe there are 5. 5 other people who are said to have helped conscript young people, young women, for Epstein to manipulate, coerce, and abuse. I've got to go to sleep, but I'm just quickly going to check this to make sure it had sound. And I want to encourage everybody to be the type of people who raise awareness. The ideal Nazi citizen is not just the devoted Nazi or a communist who's devoted to totalitarianism and autocratic rule. The ideal Nazi citizen is somebody who can't distinguish between truth and lie anymore, who has resigned themselves to things being too complicated for the person who thinks that truth doesn't exist anymore. So the media and Trevor Noah and all of those people that are like lifelines to our sanity, and the resistance on Twitter is so important for maintaining our commitment to truth and our belief that things still matter, and we're not going to say one party is as bad as the other. And we're going to call out people on the far left for pretending that Hillary Clinton was in any way, shape or form in the same galaxy as Donald Trump in an analogous sense of criminality. Trump has no history of public service, has no ability to deliver on public service goals, and whose life has been relentlessly organized around a pattern of criminality and self-serving behavior, and that he's likely compromised by Russian military intelligence, taping his hotel rooms, bugging him, and that the Russians also have over him documented history of his financial entanglements with them and his His commitment to building Trump Tower Russia, that we know he lied about to the American people, saying, Russia, I have no dealings with Russia, all the while his signature was on a letter of intent to build Trump Tower Moscow that had been signed off by Vladimir Putin, because no construction deals make progress in Moscow without Putin's approval. So Putin knew about Trump's secret deals with Putin. And when Putin knows something that the American press and the American people don't know or don't talk about, then that's called a hold over someone. Trump is beholden to Putin for keeping his secrets. And we do not know the depth of depravity to the secret box that Putin has on Trump. We do not know what Trump will trade away of America in order to keep Putin happy. We know that Ukrainian President Zelensky has reached an arrangement with Putin to withdraw Ukrainian troops from contested areas. So imagine Mexico trying to take over Texas, and there were troops there because Mexico, in this analogy, is a superpower where there's a stalemate between equally powerful Mexico and the US, and Trump just decides to withdraw American troops from Texas. Like, okay, well, you can have it. I concede Texas to you, Mexico. You can have it back. Let's revoke the Battle of the Alamo or whatever it was. Please excuse my Australian lack of familiarity with American history. I'm learning. So yes, I know enough now to know that Texas used to be part of Mexico, and that Americans settled in Texas, and eventually said, you know what, this should be our territory. And there was enough military-style skirmishes between the two countries, and then there were fights, and the US won, and compulsorily, militaristically acquired Texas. So that's all from me today. Let me just check to see if there have been any comments that I should respond to. Our territory, and
Oh,
enough
noise.
Nope, nobody's watching it. Well, that's sad, but perfectly understandable. Maybe everybody's watching the news. Maybe there are people going live talking about what's happening now and the meeting with the Inspector General of the State Department. So to people who play this video later, thanks for listening, and I hope you gain something from it, and I hope you feel satisfied with having subscribed to this channel, and I hope more people continue to do so. I've got room to grow, babies, and see you next time. Take care of yourselves and each other, as Jerry Springer would have said. Bye.